You remind me of someone I knew. Someone with an immense bone to pick. Yes. The edges soften and reform. You could be anyone. There's always this immense intimacy on one of these, on flights, because we're so helpless. We're babies. It's the utmost sense of trust, full body trust, each pair of eyes a wellspring. It's good to see you again after all these years. You've changed so much. Or not too much, but things have changed. Lucky for me, I am preserved in amber on this civilian liner, just cruising. And to be sure, it is a privilege to be here. Sorry, the air in here, it's so dry. You know, I hear in the less atomized parts of the world, more or less civilized countries, I hear they do still let people smoke on the planes. Yes, they do it, and they survive. They move from day to day and in between. Why not? Anyway, I'm much too old to tell anyone what makes sense and what doesn't. After all, if you haven't figured it out by now, then who's to say? It's not such a long flight. Soon we'll wake up in Florida or go to sleep in Alaska tonight. Tampa Springs eternally in our hearts, or Alaska. The Northern Lights, polar bears. I would say something about airplane food, but I'd be kidding. It doesn't exist anymore, of course. Do it while they still let you. That's what I always say. Do it while you still can. Life does not rebound eternally after all. Those threads become tangled past the point of fixing eventually. Transition to the big time. Go on TV. Maybe you remember that big time back then, the 90s or however long. You thought you were breaking for commercial, but actually, oops. Actually, it was something else. Back then when you still had your something and your something else. But instead of breaking for commercial, it was actually breaking to speak to you, directly to you, not at you, beaming into your mind, as it were. All your favorite characters, makeup still on, accents and dialects unslipping, speaking directly, such that they do not even really need to speak. The acts of suggestion and the spatial ocular cues are in some ways enough. But let's say they really are speaking and are in fact perfectly closed captioned. They are urging you to pick up a gun, do some plain tricks, poison some wells, burn some other people's lands, as you've been primed to do already from before the commercial break. And lucky for you, they aren't being too literal. Less you're already over there, then oops. But really, they're telling you because it's already done. Your parents' taxes collected and left you. All you have left is cathected desire, misplaced and misbegotten, a seeded cloud of consent. And I was there too. You saw me. Or maybe you don't remember. How could you, after all? Considering everything else, the ensuing years of displaced, anxious longing, for instance. I had a sweater on, one of the very emblematic of the time, start of the decade, and my hair like a lobster. What was her name from the show you liked? She Could Never. C-SPAN logo in the lower left corner, fat phallic microphones, two of them crossed, and nobody had a summer vacation quite like mine. It's good to see you again after all these years. Couldn't look you in the eye back then, you know, not even after all the long hours in the hotel rooms, the coaches, the corrections on the printed pieces of paper, the exercises in facial posture, vocal intonations. You may remember them. Hill and the other one, Knowlton. They're funding, of course, another goose chase. I am handed the shopping bag, handed the script, but because and simply that I can conjure up things from my mind, from within the beyond, etc., you know I can, in any case, conjure up the things, so to speak, because they are real to me and don't ever stop, don't ever quit being real to me. Medical machines humming and beeping, numbers sliding downwards. Why did they make me a nurse? I'm only a child. My hair is in twin braids, pigtails. Even so, no really, whose idea was that? Mine? My idea? My childhood daydream idea? Oh, Mr. Chairman, oh, members of the committee? No, let's be serious now. It was a very calculated decision. The womanly caretaking body. Take care now. The nurse in the center of the sex vision, the deathbed, the love vision, the birth fantasy. They are dancing in a circle. Who? The nurses are, of course. They are moving their hands, their eyes in synchro. They are mouthing the lyrics to a song. But now we have a million of me. Fewer and fewer actresses in the cast. The clone, the heel, the copy and paste, the drag and drop tool, the generation at a drop of a hat. They were working very hard. So, we have a nurse. Why not add some babies? So she's a nurse volunteering during a war, a real nurse and a real war, not staged or anything. And they've got her in the maternity wards. How do they do it over there anyway? And let's just say these soldiers really want to steal some incubators. Preemies be damned, apparently. They're simply jealous of our superior foreign direct investment of our grand U.S. aid hatcheries. They've only got the ones from the 70s or something. Or they're going to use them to incubate weaponized strains of cholera, syphilis, rabies, gonorrhea, goner. What came first? What was the seed of imagination? And where did all that leftover desire go, huh? Well, I don't know, but didn't go into civil engineering, that's for sure, or flower arranging, or the contemporary arts, or maybe it did. You must have had some real Schedule I trust issues after all that, after having it all figured out for you the following year. How could you ever again believe your ears, your eyes? You only saw me for a second. Or rather, I was there where I said I was, but I didn't actually do anything, didn't do any actual nursing, just kind of stood around. No way I could have actually seen the things I said I did, or otherwise, we can just never know for sure. After all, everything happens so fast, which is a nice way of saying. You put it in a nice way of saying. An ambassador's daughter, actually. She's been holed up in the embassy. Clenched fist, turning her head from side to side, shaved a few years off her age too, probably. She was miles away in a hotel room, not the whole time, but most of the time. She'd really like to move on with her life by now, but she's just a collection of lines, shadows, etc. Who will play me in the film? On the glossy digital plate. Someone of age for the labor laws. Naturally, you can't get a child to work a 12-er. And the screen itself, the cruel quality of the blue and orange. Everything, either blue or orange, nothing in between. Or otherwise, all of the colors completely desaturated, the rosiness sucked clean out to evoke the desert. Ah, the desert. I stand on my own 2 feet. The gentlemen heads of state become but little action figures. I sidestep them, sweep them aside, though my disclosures remain limited. Certain characters get left on the cutting room floor. In the end, I'm just a deviant with rich parents spinning silly songs a PR firm was hired to write for me. And now you'll hear them again. The audience will leave, scratching their beards, so to speak, and say, oh, how crazy back then when you still had your something and your something else. It was something else, as a matter of fact. You couldn't imagine anything of the sort happening in this day and age, what with everyone knowing better, and we know better now, what with our marketplace of ideas. But now I'm just a collection of zeros and ones continually reconstituted as different bodies in my sleep of amber, coaching you, reminding you, guiding your hand on the joystick. You can really hit those buttons at the particular time. Now and again, I'm lying on the ground with my face powdered, seemingly unmoving, but if you look closer, just a little closer, but the dust got in your eyes, and you listened. And here you are, still listening and nodding like you're paying attention. No trust issues there. You might not believe me about the confluence between these realms of ostensible spontaneity. As much as anyone believes. As though your belief was in any way quantifiable. As if your belief could move mountains. Not quite, huh? No, not quite. What? Okay. No, what do you mean exactly? What light? Isn't it always like that? They've got something to... Fine. What? Oh. Look, I'm putting it on. What was I don't understand how you're still so calm. Can't you feel it? But you're right, of course. What can you do? You're always one step ahead of me. So silly of me. Just forget I said anything. Oh, and congratulations. I would have needed to wait in line endlessly to feel as lucky as that. There must be... No, I didn't say that! I didn't say anything! Whatever. I'm not her, as you can probably guess, but so close we could be siblings, yes. Womb twins, absorbing within, chimeras in. And to be sure, this is not some coma dream. This is really happening. So you cannot help but see it in cycles. Crossed into the likes of me, whereupon I was, if you will, doing, if you will, my little routine. I took part in what I took part in, and so did you. It's really just as simple as that. Why wouldn't it all be true? What would it matter? And what if my fingers were crossed behind my back the whole time? See? There's no testimony to retract. She's a ship. She's a big old boat, a wide load, a USS, a cargo transporter, an aircraft carrier, a missile cruiser, just cruising off the coast of, in the strait of, in the territorial waters of, virtue like a stone, sinking immediately, going down in the annals of history, reconfigured and hovering above you like undispelled allegations, mere allegations, something that's yours, looming like a vapor mist. Which, come to think of it, was it always this misty in here? Surely it's nothing. An optical illusion. Certainly not that. It's just like when they dye the rivers on holidays. Harmless as food coloring. We all walk around with something missing. And it's not such a long flight. Florida Springs, eternally, and the Northern Lights, which are, in actuality, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's something I really want to know. Anyway, there are a lot of statistics. I could provide you with a wealth of statistics if that would make you go, ah, if that would tickle your fanciful. A massive ball of tangled limbs, a big hole in the ground. We've been in here forever. Quit digging us up and making us say things. Quit moving our jaws with your hands. But maybe you don't care about any of that, do you? Fine. Don't mind me. I'll just wait in a long line with a little traced heart on the back of my head. Yes, that's right. That's where the spinal cord originates. A little invitation. You're the parasite who lives under my skin. The reason I've had to detox so many, many times. You don't even know the reality of the water mixed with sour substance spread over my cheeks. Pressure applied, and yet, so you don't even know. You don't even have the slightest idea because nothing works. And now the bomb-sniffing dogs have smelled all my good luck charms. I am short work. I am mincemeat. Well. Well, everyone loves a woman restrained. But you don't have me unconscious yet. The tensions are, of course, as such. We can say the words when it comes to classes. Imagine, here the words are actually said. Have to applaud the honesty, I suppose. They still let us smoke on board. None of this would have happened. All those points racked just to be banned. Banned for life, presumably. Make me pay, yes, make me pay. And the parasites, they're fucking in my bloodstream. Yes, sexually reproducing. The medications in question can't just quite kill them off. It's more like birth control. So the generations they die off progressively just get smaller and smaller over 5 to 10 years as opposed to 20 or 30 or however long you live to host them, I suppose. Transition to the big time. Lucky for you, you'll be picking up your bags. Eyes dry, mouth dry, nose dry, feeling that scrap little boarding pass in your pocket, nothing to remind yourself it's still there. Still there. All the time, eyes. Oh, is that a little tear or the suggestion of a tear? Would be a tear were it not so dry. Don't look so sad. You'll be going home with an arm around your waist. Ha! Joke's on you, you bitch with an arm around your waist. Would that it were a snake. Turn up from your drinking glass, the bubbling within, the parasites doing their dance. No, I'm not winking. I'm not making eyes at you. Mind your own God. Laugh all you want. You'll be cut up too. Floodgate overhaul, cars piling up, Northrop Grumman poster child, free year-long supply of DU. You know what that is, don't you, sweetie? I'm sure it's in there somewhere, buried, if you will. Not that I'm accusing you of having buried something you shouldn't have. After all, the dirt is constantly falling on all of us. So, can't believe it took this long to shout out our corporate sponsors, cradle them in our chest cavities. Anyway, it is such a privilege to be the Northrop Grumman poster child this year, looking so young for my age. Next year, she'll have her organs outside her body or something like that, so equitably included. You know, I hear if you double or triple dose yourself, the already poisoned parts of you will just strike up such an affinity with it that everything will just boil off, exit the body peacefully through defecation or perspiration. LRADs. But what if they were nice? What if when they beamed the thoughts into your head, it was nice and it kind of tasted like sugar or honey or warm milk? Her milk she kept injecting, inhaling. It was hate objectified, her eel-like baby refusing to latch. Just keep holding out to the last minute. She'd pump the leftovers, slip it into my food when I wasn't looking to try to get that poison into me, like I can see it. Like, it's everywhere, it's all over, it's turning into acid, it's burning the roof of my mouth. You never even called me. I sit in the back of the car with my head pressed against the window, in a hotel room banished from thought. I do not sleep for fear of being reincorporated into the out-of-bound. You utterly gave up on me because I'm too old for you, I guess. My skin drooping and unsightly. How warm and nice it was in that big hole before you started digging us up and taking pictures. Worm friends, subterranean mushrooms in so many colors. Not a tragedy, no, not a tragedy, not a tragedy, no. I'm getting to decide this time, I get to decide. It is the centerpiece of agency. Sorry. Sure is missing.
What was the Gulf War? The Gulf War, also known as the First Gulf War, also known as the Persian Gulf War, also known as Operation Desert Shield, and successively Operation Desert Storm. For a brief time it was called the Iraq War, but obviously not anymore, was a tenuously defined military conflict between the United States and Iraq following the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait between August 1990 and February 1991. American diplomatic officials promised Saddam no retaliation should Iraq invade the oil-rich emirate of Kuwait, saying they had no opinions on Arab-Arab conflicts, nor any special defense or security commitments to Kuwait, which was a protectorate of the British Empire until 1961.
False alarm.
Who was Nurse Naira and what did she allege? Nurse Naira was a character played by Naira Asaba, who spoke at a congressional caucus broadcast on television in October of 1990. She claimed to have been a 15-year-old volunteer nurse at a hospital in Kuwait City. She alleged, based on personal observation, that Iraqi soldiers removed premature infants from incubators and left them on the floor to die. Was her testimony at all important? Then President George H.W. Bush mentioned her testimony half a dozen times in the 3 weeks preceding American military intervention in the war.
Do you think they're coming back? Ugh.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm a lot better already, thanks. Okay, well, more like, how are you?
All right, I guess.
Ugh.
The people here,
Do you know them?
sort of,
Are they your friends?
one or two of them, they're kind of,
I don't really know them. I mean, I know one or two of them, but
they're kind of their own category,
yeah.
kind of intense.
Where did they all go?
Amber said something about the basement.
Are they gonna come back?
I'm sure some of them live here.
They're all the children of a certain dispossessed Riche.
I only really know Amber.
I only really know Amber. Well, and I know that guy with the undercut. Well, I don't really know him. I just see him around all the time.
Oh yeah, what's his name? He's got a lot to say sometimes. And sometimes he doesn't say anything, but you can kind of tell what he's thinking.
And you?
I usually don't have much to say.
That's nice.
Have we met before?
I doubt it. Although actually it would surprise me if we had, given the, were you involved?
Oh, come on.
It's a real question. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody here was involved in some way, you know?
Look, I went to one of those schools, but I was on scholarship, you know. I'm from the real middle of nowhere. By which I mean, not a suburb of Arlington or whatever. My parents were not diplomats or political dissidents. They couldn't find Czechoslovakia on a map. Now, of course, you can't anyway because they renamed it, but still.
That's funny. How they rope along a token uninitiated into everything, really, you know? There's always at least one of them. You. My father was a cartographer. You know, a cartographer in his home country, only just a cartographer. He's made the maps, line things up on the coordinate chart. He didn't do anything like, he didn't know what was buried underground, for instance.
Was Naira's testimony true? She never actually worked as a nurse in a hospital. No evidence has ever been discovered that backs up the stories of the incubator babies. This, along with Naira's real identity, were not widely known until January of 1992, after the war was officially over.
They had me doing the subtitles.
Did the translation lie?
The translation?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do the translation. They gave me the translation. I matched the words to the timestamps. I formatted the text. You can see the little black outline around the white words. In the video, for instance, that was me. I mean, it was supposed to match. I can only imagine how accurate it was.
Your guess is as good as mine. That's why I asked. You got paid?
Obviously. It would be funny if I didn't.
So you're not so unlike them after all.
Well, we are here.
Yeah. Here we are.
Who was Nairo's father? Saud Nasser al-Saud Asba, Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. Who wrote Nairo's testimony? Helen Knowlton, PR firm headquartered in New York City. Who hired Helen Knowlton? An advocacy group called Citizens for a Free Kuwait, essentially a front for the Kuwaiti government and therefore a front for the United States, who paid around $10 million US. What are some other notable clients of Helen Knowlton? The World Health Organization, the Olympic Games, and the Church of Scientology.
What are they doing down there?
I don't know.
That sounds like something with the electrical wiring.
Could be a mouse
A mouse.
or a rat chewing on the wires.
Could be.
They're probably just engaging in a traditional circle jerk. They peaked in college and miss it.
You know, the circle jerk is this terribly maligned concept, but if you ask anybody in one, they'll probably tell you they're having a great time.
Did Knowlton ever formally retract Nayara's testimony? No, in fact, to this day, they maintain they have no reason to believe it was untrue. Was the use of military force approved by Congress? Yes, it passed in the Senate by 5 votes. Is congressional approval really necessary? Yes and no. For military action to be legal, technically, but legitimacy is a veil. If you have a dream, why should the absence of congressional approval stand in your way? That wasn't actually a question.
I spiraled into something with Amber? Was it her? Yes, it was Amber. I love her to death, obviously, but I sometimes have to turn my brain off when she talks. It was Amber and your friend Pamela. Pamela with the what do you call it? The ombre. She is not here tonight. I did not see Pamela here tonight. This was a couple months ago. I was busted off some shit. My edges were jagged. And I totally just forgot to breathe. I was writhing like a little worm, my brain area was shrinking, and then I remembered! Baby brains! Crib death! Stance! Don't do that.
What?
What is depleted uranium? Depleted uranium or
Are you
is 40%
busted?
less
No.
radioactive than normal uranium, but is
Well, just a little bit.
toxic.
It's just.
It is used in the production of certain military.
I can't help feeling
chemicals.
dirty around these people.
The more effective at piercing-
Every one of them is a reflection of someone else, including Amber, a worse reflection. You turn your head and
It depends who you ask.
I want to scrub every pore of my skin. I want to be sprayed with disinfecting agent.
And how is that going for you? Be careful what you wish for, man. They're going to just give it to you.
There's always something going on. That's why I didn't go downstairs. I just drink to forget, Everything else is rather extraneous.
It
how's the forgetting going?
Treaties prohibiting the use of the U?
Were you involved?
No.
I was kind of involved. I was there at the airport. I remember I was there at the airport. I was looking at the menu for the one cafe in the terminal. Everything was taking its sweet time. There was some old guys with their little teacups. They were just sitting there, not even looking at us, not even speaking to us. They could just speak without talking, just looks and waves of the hand. And then I heard the sirens going off. I mean, I was often in airports, hotel lobbies. I was in a fun outreach study abroad program. Yeah. I got like a scholarship to go there. Like they gave me a considerable amount of money. We were studying internecine conflict mitigation. Always just and only mitigation, you know, to deploy the teams of the napkin folding types to very patiently dab the napkins on the gaping wounds. Mitigate the contradictions. God forbid they ever solve themselves.
You paid your scholarship.
Come on, you don't expect me to remember that.
You mentioned it.
I mean, this was like 10 years ago. I mean, this was like maybe. I mean, I could look it up, you know. Does it matter? I mean, there isn't like a lot of them.
There isn't a great diversity in who gives out the scholarship.
Yeah, that's true, but they are getting very good at who gets them. That was a joke. But anyways, you know, the trip, anywhere you go to college is fine.
I guess so.
There was these like obligatory meetings that were like unthinkably long and tedious, you know, just someone like talking and not stopping, and well, they kind of all blur together now, but I guess that's kind of the essence of being there on one of these programs, you know. That and like the obligatory dinners with official looking types and the papers. Maybe we had to write a paper or fill out a survey after it was all over. That part I don't really remember. I mean, the rest of it was fun. I met a guy in the program who was really nice. You know, I was in college, so you know how it is.
I guess.
And there was like somebody who was, he was asking all of these questions, like one of those types who just was kind of just, you know, like there on the trip, like you just know that. But I mean, there's always one of those smart asses. At any types of these things, somebody who just kind of just shouldn't fucking be there. And then when these presentations would open up for questions, he would always just like, you know, like, he would ask like the most obvious questions, like, oh my god, like
what?
Like, it didn't even matter the kind of question because we had already been there for so fucking long. Like, why would you even bother at that point? You know, like he would be like, why does she only tweet in English? You know, if she's in one of those parts of the country, incidentally, that we were supposedly visiting, and like, why isn't she a bit young to be talking about man pads? And like, why is her video stream so good if she's in a war zone? Is she like plugged straight into the grid or something?
She was kind of young, like 8?
7, actually. But that was for like a legitimate reason, you know. They like made her young so that they could age her up as time went on. Anyway, I'm sitting there, like, these questions that I do just answer themselves. I'm on study fucking abroad, goddammit. I'm 21. I want to be fucked in my hotel room.
Where is he now?
The question asker. It's probably some dead-eyed, nameless crypto blogging dude. Unsurprising.
The guy you got along with.
Oh. Like a think tanker, maybe? Like, or he's like doing spots on someone's show. Or maybe he's doing like content strategy bullshit. I wouldn't be surprised if he was here tonight.
You think?
Yeah. Maybe he's like downstairs in the basement with Amber and the rest of them. With duct tape over his nipples.
Ew. Why?
For someone to pull off for someone's enjoyment. There's chest hair on the sticky tape and they just go, rah!
Ew. Diff strokes, whatever, but that sounds rather uncomfortable.
What did Alina mean by cars piling up?
It doesn't sound like you're doing much outreach.
Referring to the highway of
Of
death.
course we
What was
were.
the highway of death? The highway of death was a 6-lane highway between Iraq and Kuwait It was misplaced bombs between vehicles.
You did the subtitles on our video.
What
Apparently.
was the death toll of this incident?
It was just a college kid job. Internship
What
stuff.
was
They wouldn't have trusted me
this?
with anything real.
Presumably
I'm not
something.
like you, or Andrew,
Something
or that undercut
everyone
guy, whatever
says
his
like
name
that
is. You know, he's got
is not
allegations
weaponized bacteria being sprayed.
looming over him.
Was the airplane passenger?
Like a-
That seems highly
like a
unlikely.
cloud.
You know what?
Where
All
is
things
Leonie
considered, like
I don't know.
to be talking about
I really don't know.
right now.
Presumably she is 45 meetings.
Really?
Jessica,
It's Tandy?
I just thought that was your.
We have never met him.
I thought I heard someone address you earlier
No,
across
no.
the room.
Okay, you know what? Just look at the world around you. Shit, look at everybody around you. Like, to be talking about, like, right now. Shit, like, who fucking cares? By the way, if you hadn't heard, he beat the allegations.
Beat the allegation?
Yeah, and nothing else.
That's great.
You don't sound convinced.
I don't know the guy. I told you, I only really know Amber. I'm gonna go check on them.
You leaving me?
I'll be back.
That was a joke.
I just want to see something.
Hi, Amber. Hi. How? Do you need this?
It's right. Particularly so. I'm bathroom. Wow, I wouldn't leave it.
Yeah, fuck you, Sandra, you little bitch. Alright.
Another time, you, me, Pamela.
Yeah, Pamela with the...
So true. Remember?
No. And you know what? I don't actually need to remember anything else. So if you don't need to throw up or anything,
Tandy, I'm thriving.
what? Everything's fine. Please don't call me. Ever. Oh. Please.
Thanks.
Amelia Earhart. Earhart. I have this feeling that I am going to be taped. Make an Amelia Earhart falling from the sky. Reflect the lacy panties on those black leather boots. Knife in hand, snake tongue out. She's 10 and just went viral. She's got a lot to say about the here and the now and the massive cow figures made of salted butter. Kids, women, I don't know, doctors, the quality of a social currency reminding you of other things. And you either have it or you don't. And we'd never not believe her. I have seen the flap of ages. I saw a star. I heard a shark. I heard the cartoon hedgehog himself crying over the latest irredentist paean. Don't ask me which one, though surely my entire identity was bent and built on the assemblage of such names and color within the line flags. Sorry, I'm looking for better metaphors. Sure is misty in here. It's auto-populated in our hearts and minds. It's very difficult and hard to swallow. The treaties are already signed. I think there is a halo of some kind. Or not quite a halo. Left over and rehashed. The undying fire in the eye of counterinsurgency. Transition to the big time. Wake up crying. Waxen bodies, warped and knotted. A massive ball of tangled limbs. A big hole in the ground. But enough of all that. No one cares really, so let's not talk about it. Oh God, what are we going to talk about? It's kind of a crazy place. What model is this? The Airbus or some string of numbers? No matter, better not to know some details. Could make you anxious to know too many details. Humiliation, again and again. Was it you? Were you involved? I was only kind of involved. Hands tied, growing too old for this little routine. I don't know why, I just have this feeling. There is something ahead of me, but I cannot see it. There is this sticky substance on my arms and face that I can't quite scrape off. And I'm waiting in an endless line, of course, some mandatory arbitration clause, etc., and an impossibly large monetary figure that seems rather unnecessary. How warm and nice it was in that big hole. Worm friends, subterranean mushrooms in so many colors. A lane I'm staying in, something that's mine. They put a drain in my liver. You know that, right? Not for any good reason. I don't think there was a good reason. But I was lucky. We are all lucky, obviously. Privileged. I got out right in time. Consequences unfaced, even if they are still around, even if they are pasted on the back of my head, so to speak. Your concern, so bright and bulky it seemed at so many points in time, could not budge past a certain part of something. And now so long past the point of fixing, generally frowned upon, if not always, then generally. And you don't have much more than that, your generous countenance. And it really is generous. Dreaming away, although of course I do not really dream, dreamt away one's past life, gored on the edge of a bull your past life was, went down like a dog, zeros and ones reset impossibly, threads tangled and cannot be put back despite the trite non-consensual organ removals. One day it must all end, of course. A shutting off of the sun, but not the real sun. A snack section would have been so good of them to have offered. How mighty good it would have been. And now, still, Could you imagine a phone ringing at this altitude? Sorry again. I'm looking for better metaphors. I really am. But thanks for looking, I guess. If I were smart, I would have promised at the outset not to make any comparisons that overstate or understate or underrate unfairly. But then again, I have a very bad track record and have spent too long digging around in lost returns and going places uninvited or otherwise just failing to appear to show up. But you know me, I'm so sensory sensitive, I stand in the shower with the water off most of the day. My function was replaced. Look under your seats now. Look under your seats. Such a miracle to be cruising impossibly at 35,000 feet. And so fast, too. Imagine our prehistorical ancestors envying those big birds who migrated for the winter. Little did they know their imaginations were still too small. Prepare for a war that doesn't happen. It's honestly really all about the build-up. But how did they know it wouldn't happen? How did they know to trust the intel? I trust the intel. I trust the symbols. I trust the ambiance. I trust the connector chips. I trust the internal combustion engine. I trust the blue light. I trust the drain in my liver. I trust the mist.